Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again. It is going to be the 1st of December, and you know what that means when it's going to be the 1st of December. There's going to be another one of these revenue reports released. And when it comes to these reports, there's always going to be a bit of a discussion going on. What's going to EOS? What's going to stay alive? Who's doing well and who isn't? And when you take a look at the past month of gacha updates, look at all of the different new features, some really good, some horrifically bad, that these big gacha companies have added. I think it's an opportunity for a fun little discussion over here. And so before we dive on into that, there are some big disclaimers that I want to get out of the way. One thing we got to get going up in front is that this is just a chart of mobile revenue estimates. This means that those games that have a big PC presence, a big console presence, think you're, well, every Hoyoverse game as well as Wuthering Waves, those games might not be charted accurately because they might have much bigger sales on those platforms. But other games, right? Think those titles like Pokemon TCG, Love and Deep Space, etc. What you see is kind of what it is because they don't really have PC clients going on. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead. Let's start taking a look at some of the numbers. I've even got some previous charts up for comparison and dive right on into some of the dynamics that's going on in the space right now. We're going to be going through this sequentially, and you might be surprised at the placement of certain companies and or certain games. Right up at the top, at the front of this list, we've got a game that's available both on PC as well as a bunch of different clients. We've got the first game on the screen over here. We've got Honkai Star Rail, and this is going to be a game that's available on pretty much every single platform you can imagine, and it appears to have earned quite a bit of dollary dues, a big increase over the past month. And some people might be saying, oh my goodness, Hoyoverse must be cooking. Hoyoverse must be a bunch of individuals who are truly doing something right. And that's what it might look like at a baseline. Then you go ahead and you actually look at some of the events that were in this update, and what might come to mind is, oh boy, maybe it should have actually been more. Because as you look on the screen over here, there was this cherished recollection event, right? And, well, would you look at that? It's an Oniric Shard top-up rewards event that just happened in Honkai Star Rail 3.7. And the goal of this event is to spend about $300 so you can get a bow skin for Cyrene on top of pulling the unit, because you can't use the skin unless you pull the unit that the skin is for as well. So that's like a double whammy on her release. And the realization that I think a lot of people had across this update was that this was entirely another money-grubbing update. This was entirely done just to milk the player base out of all they could possibly have. And it's, funnily enough, the existence of a spending event alone might be enough to raise eyebrows. This is the third spending event in a year. Yeah, not even a year. This is the third spending event since April 2025. Yes, they had their first spending event for the game in April 2025, and on December, or really in November, they held their third one, because they had another one for Honkai Star Rail as well, for their Fate collab, where their Archer skin was given out for free if you pulled enough times. Or sorry, an Archer Light Coat was given out for free if you pulled enough times. So that's 3 spending events in literally 7 months. And I'm going to be honest, guys, that's kind of impressive. However, what's not as impressive is this spending event with this character, Cyrene, who's meant to be, I guess, Alicia, right? Nostalgia bait 1,000,000%. You got Alicia over here. And apparently, according to these estimates, it's lower than it was in 3.2. On their third spending event of the year, maybe half of their player base is literally broke, or the game has lost a massive number of players because of how predatory and power creepy it's been. But I do think it's a bit, at least a little bit, worrying for the developers that they aren't reaching previous numbers in just earlier this month for what I imagine was a slightly less popular character. But maybe this is the power of global passives. Maybe this is the power of rampant power creep. Because maybe because Alicia doesn't have a global passive, she doesn't, completely fuck the game. with a new precedent. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I forgot. She's racist. She only buffs Amphorius units. I forgot she had that characteristic about her, so maybe it isn't that different. Yeah, I think the main takeaway is that the game has lost players, likely, or the new designs aren't as appealing, or this is generally what I think is going on. The way that the developers have been managing this game, the way that the balance team has been managing this game, has made it pretty much impossible for anybody that was playing the game before that wasn't spending thousands of dollars a year to want to really play at all. When your new characters get outpaced in about less than a year, in about 4 or 5 versions, and then they become absolutely useless, and when they buff old units, they buff them in a way where you need the new units anyways to make them work. Think your Jing Lius and your Blades, who, if you don't have Hyacinth or Trippy for your Jing Liu or Blade, or you don't have your Hysilins for your Kafka, what do you do other than go fuck yourself? I think that this game is literally swirling down the toilet drain. I think that this spending event over here, which is clearly, I think, just like a desperate, it reminds me of like a literal swan song for the fucking game. It's appropriate that she looks like one in her like wedding dress outfit that she has going on. At this point, I think that Honkai Star Rail has just like played every single card it can play. 3 spending events within 7 months, Giga Nostalgia Bait, the most predatory kits in gacha history. They've got shit, right, where she buffs every single Amphorius unit. And then she's got other shit, right, where you had global passives earlier this month with Casterus. They've played every single card that there is to play when it comes to this sort of situation. Hoyo's played every single card, and I think that their player base is tired with it. So that's going to be Honkai Star Rail. Now let's just kind of like keep going down. We'll talk about a couple of other games. Arknight's got that very big player base over in CN. We got some mobile games over here, Pokemon TCG and Love and Deep Space. I think the main takeaway over here is that most games in this space aren't really going to be doing particularly amazing at this point in the year. And when you consider that it's closer to like the holiday season when more individuals should have, well, more money to actually spend because it is the holidays, I do think that's a little bit interesting. And that could point to greater macroeconomic conditions because everyone is like jobless. But you know, maybe there's something else going on behind the scenes. Moving on forward and going down, we're going to have Uma Musume, actually ranked number 5 over here, but it is a more mobile-centric game. And then you got Nikkei. And then underneath all of that, ladies and gentlemen, in the 7th spot, it's Genshin Impacto. Yep, it is Genshin Impact. I can already tell right off the rip that there's probably going to be a lot of individuals who are very upset at the idea that Genshin could be below so many of these other games. But there's a pretty clear explanation to make, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to be calling out the developers, but we're also going to be shifting some of the blame as well. If you look at the actual banner schedule that was in Genshin 6.1, which is the version that's live right now, well, you had Nefer and Farida. I'm sure they did okay, but then you have your second phase reruns, Zhong Li and Arlecchino. 2 characters that are effectively useless because they either got power crept or they just don't do anything anymore. John Lee just doesn't do anything anymore because every other support is so much more broken than he is. And Arlecchino is just like a worse version of Mavuika, literally, like a worse version, like she's just power crept at this point. It's not surprising at all that these would be the banners that don't particularly sell that much. However, there's another sick little twist when it comes to Genshin. We've already given our graces to the game, right? It makes a lot of sense that nobody would pull on these. However, what about the rest of the stuff that was in Genshin 6.1? Oh, right, Milliaster Wonderland. This entire tertiary monetization route in the game where they added an entirely new gacha system. That's one of the most predatory things we've ever seen, where the only way to get the resources for this outfit is to literally spend money on the game. You cannot get this outfit without spending money or having some creepy 40-year-old man who's balding and has like way too many chest hairs. He buys it for you. That's it. And the thing is that it's just one of the most abject absolute complete failures I've ever seen from a company to create another game mode. And I think that the fact that Genshin has had one of its lower performing months despite the addition of a whole new revenue stream is perhaps one of the most worrying things I could imagine for a developer like this, especially a company like Hoyoverse. But maybe there's a shining light out there. There's a beacon, right? Like I mentioned before, these are just mobile estimates, right? And perhaps there's a chance that Millie Astra Wonderland, the mannequins, and the, I don't know, Roblox level child abuse that's going on the platform, maybe that stuff is more for the PC, right? Maybe that stuff, more of that spending is happening on the PC. I mean, like, I don't really think there's anyone developing UGC on their phone, right? I don't think there's anyone developing UGC on their phone. Most of them are probably playing it on the computers like they would Roblox. So perhaps all of UGC's revenue is like on consoles and on like PC and stuff. And so it's never going to show up here. And Genshin's actually doing way more amazing than we thought. That could be a possibility. But the fact that the only thing I've seen when it comes to the UGC is people shitting on this game mode and calling it the worst thing that the developers added to the game, and players are just begging for an opportunity to delete the content from the game so that it takes up less file size. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. They literally are saying, I wish I could just delete this to save 30 gigs. I wish I could delete this to save all that space on my hard drive, all that space on my phone. This is a waste of file size. And when that's the dominating opinion, and I literally have not seen a single person say anything good about this, I'm leaning more towards the opposite. It's a complete abject failure, a waste of development resources. It's one of the major reasons for why 6.1 had no events in the update. It's because they wanted to center so much of it on the UGC. No fucking events in this update. There's 4 of them, by the way. And this one, by the way, it's a double drop. So it's actually 3. Yeah, Overflowing Abundance, that's a double drop event. So of the 4 events in the patch, one of them's a double drop. So there's actually 3. And you were meant to supplement your playtime with this dog shit. I don't think they're really going to dedicate that many resources to this anymore. And I think that it is, without a doubt, the biggest failure I've ever seen Hoyo undertake. Because I think the UGC costs money to develop. I think the UGC costs money to advertise, do all of that. And the net result is that it has made Genshin Impact a worse game. Imagine performing or spending millions of dollars in R&D, salary, work hours, and then making the game worse. for the average player. Because the average player doesn't touch the UGC, and now they have to deal with 40 extra gigs of file size space for a feature they're not using. So the game is just objectively worse for pretty much everybody. Nice job, Hoyoverse. You outperform yourself every time. Now, let's keep going. We got Naruto Mobile over here. Once again, mobile games, so those numbers over there are kind of going to be indicative of the whole. And then we got Wuthering Waves. And so a lot of individuals, they might be confused about the number that's being shown on the screen right now. A lot of people might be confused. And this is my take on how individuals across the Wuthering Waves space should approach this situation. The first thing that I'll say is just a constant thing that I always have to mention when it comes to revenue charts, Wuthering Waves, this website, and the people curating it. I don't think there's much of an issue with other games' numbers, but we all know that when it comes to gacha revenue at Eniad, which is where this is from, the individuals in charge with managing the page have a bit of an agenda against the game. So this is something that I constantly pull up from all of my old videos. Every single time we cover this, that's why there's 3 of me on the screen, and probably next month there's going to be 4. So I'll just let this part play out. As you can see, we got the individual who actually made the post over in the Gacha Gaming subreddit. And by that post, I mean this Gacha revenue post over here, this entire thing. They're Trixie, right? And we can just verify with some glue over here. Trixie over here as well, right? And this individual is a prominent member of Gateo's Discord. They post stuff there all the time. And Gateo's like on the record saying stuff like this to them on their stream. heading on into it before we tee up that discussion for Wuwa. Oh, this guy's also incredibly racist.
He called me racist, which, let's be real here. I'm Chinese. Okay? That's enough said about that statement. Okay? I'm not denying it.
I'm sure Chinese people across the globe really appreciates Gateo's words here. Might as well add that for additional context as well.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if it's related, though. I like how I made myself laugh back then, and I've made myself laugh over here right now. That's how you know you're good.
4 and 6 right now. And why is this 7 then? See, why is there extra 1 mil on the website?
So basically, this is him on his stream because Trixie's always on their stream, right? The person that makes this. Gateo is telling the person that makes this website to go bump down Wuthering Waves by millions of dollars on their estimates. That's what that clip is showing. So that is the context that you guys have to keep in mind whenever it comes to a competition in these revenue numbers. You're always going to have the site owner, the one curating these numbers and putting together this data. They are basically in Gateo's back pocket, a CC, a racist Chinese guy who intentionally tries to sabotage Wuthering Waves at every opportunity. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let's start diving into this month's performance itself, because I do think there's a bit of a opinion that I have regarding pulling tendencies across regions. I'm of the opinion that when it comes to EN, EU, and probably like the Western countries, nobody pulls for waifu, people only pull for meta. And I think in JP, and probably a good bit of CN and KR, they pull a good bit for waifu, and maybe not as much meta. And my take over here is that almost nobody in global pulled Chisa, but a fuck ton of Eastern people did. Because realistically, Chisa might be the worst debut banner I've ever seen in my fucking life, from a meta relevance angle. I have never seen a character who's quite literally this low value on their debut. She effectively works in one team, is an improvement in one team, but she also requires her signature, and she's an improvement by about 3 or 4%. Yeah. So essentially, you're deciding to go ahead and spend the equivalent of about 160, maybe more in pulls, depending on if you lose 50-50. You're going to spend that much to make the Cartithia Chacona team 5% better than just using Arrow Rover. And if you don't have Chisa's signature, Arrow Rover's team is better. So the character plus the weapon to be an improvement on one team. And outside of that, if you don't have her weapon, she's a loss on every team. And if you have her weapon, she's only an improvement on one. She's a downgrade on every other team in the game. So when you think about it from that perspective, there aren't going to be a lot of individuals who willingly want to go ahead and, I don't know, spend money on a unit that is providing absolutely nothing to them utility-wise and is like only there as, I'm just going to be honest, guys. She's basically just like a, she's like the equivalent of like a trophy wife on your account at the moment. Like, you don't expect her to, like, do anything. She's kind of, like, there just to, like, look pretty, and then you're hoping that she has value later. I think that most individuals out there are thinking like this when it comes to this character. They're going to pull her on a rerun. And when they do have a negative status DPS that comes out that she's like best in slot for, because it has to fucking happen at this point, because otherwise why the fuck did they even make this unit if they're not going to give her the teammates that she needs relatively soon? Most people are probably just waiting for a rerun to get her because she has so little use cases in the game right now. And so I can almost view the revenue that Chisa could potentially make as a bit more staggered. And one of the ways that I feel like I know that's going to be true is because Shorekeeper actually was, in all respects,
I am here to serve
according
your
to
will.
that data, one of the lower revenue banners in the game. Because most people actually pulled her for free. But she ends up always making a good chunk on a rerun. because there's always like the newer players, or there's always the people that never picked her up. That's always a big possibility. And chances are Chisa's probably going to be regularly rerunning very similarly to Shorekeeper, because Shorekeeper is the unit in the game that has been rerun the most. That's what Kuro does. They take their best generalist units and they rerun them often. It's the opposite of what Hoyoverse does, right? You all remember how good Kazuha was? That arrow motherfucker who, like, is venti, but, like, gives damage buffs that is better than him, even though he's the Archon of Wind. Yeah, Kazuha. Kaedehara Kazuha. That guy's fucking broken, right? Or he was. They relegated him to only running once a fucking year because they knew he was broken. And so when he ran once a year, they made a fuck ton of money each time he ran because everybody pulled his ass because he was overpowered. Let's see if Kuro takes that approach. The fact that they didn't do it for Shorekeeper and they ran her like fucking crazy, and pretty much everyone that wants her has her at this point in the game. I think the approach that they took with Shorekeeper kind of proves that Chisa's probably going to be back relatively regularly. And if she's not, I'll eat my words, and then we'll talk about how the banner schedule of Kuro isn't that great. But that's kind of just like it, right? I think a lot of people have that notion in their minds. There's not really any pressure at all to pull on this banner. There's not like any sense of FOMO for individuals either. People aren't like, oh man, what's gonna happen if I don't pull Chisa? Everyone's kind of just like, okay, what will happen if I pull Chisa? People are like FOMO scared of pulling her versus like FOMO scared of like not pulling her. I think more people are scared about pulling her and then a 3.0 unit not being her teammate, and then she just sits and collects dust for another 42 days. I think more people are scared of that possibility than they are of the chance that Chisa might be needed for a 3.0 unit. That's my take on it. And while, yes, I do think that there's a healthy amount of the population that pulled her just for aesthetics, I do feel like, at least the Western side of this game, they don't pull for waifu at fucking all. They just, like, don't, bro. They pull for characters that are strong, that look strong, and perform well in-game. We're meta slaves in the West. That's just kind of like what it is. And so the sooner that I feel like certain parts of the region accept that, the sooner these numbers, these estimates, right, could potentially start making a lot more sense. And there's always the other argument as well, right? These numbers are actually giga deflated because of the situation I talked about before. And these numbers are actually giga deflated because WooWop might have way more sales, right? On PC, on console. I personally know everyone I know doesn't buy shit on this game on the phone. That's all I know, because everyone I know plays the game on the PC, or they play the game on console, and so they buy from the PC or the console store. Yeah, they don't like decide to log into the mobile client just to make a purchase and then go back into, you know, the PC to play. And the thing is, I mean, most people would say this. I'm a personal driver of this opinion. Yeah, I can't play this game on the phone. I suck dick when I play this game on the phone. I could probably do it with practice, but I don't feel like it. But in all honesty, I'm just not like a mobile gamer at all. Like, you give me like one of those trackpads that's like on screen and I'll just go fuck myself because, like, I don't know, I can't use it properly. You've got all of those other components, all those other criteria as well. But I did want to mention, probably the biggest element of it is I'm somebody that owns this character, bro. I know people that pulled this character. A lot of us that own this unit, we think she's trash, bro. And I'm going to be honest, if you don't think she's trash right now, you're lying. She's garbage right now. She is literally the worst unit you could spend any resources on in the game. At this point, like in the progression of the game, she is absolutely a net loss to your account. She subtracts account value, right? Imagine you're like on an account selling website and the value of your account is dependent on the characters you have. Let's just say if you were selling your account, it's worth less after you pull Chisa. It was worth more before you pulled her. Hope that makes sense. Now, let's start moving on. We got some other games. Not going to spend too much time on them. And now we've got the elephant in the room, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to be honest over here. I have no idea how this happened. I am assuming that these numbers over here are including Dialin. Maybe they're including Dialin. Maybe they're not. I'm praying that they're actually not. I am praying that they're actually not, because Dialin was released on November 26th. It could be lagging, much like how this website always does. I just want you guys to keep in mind, sometimes it fails to show the most recent, like, 5-10 days worth of revenue. But if this is including Dialin, this game is in some trouble. And the reason why I say that is Dialin is the most broken unit that has been released in the history of the game, potentially. Probably some of the most blatant power creep they've ever shown on the roster. She literally does. She's basically a character. She's a stun agent. And as a stun agent, she does what every single other limited stun agent does. She takes the highlight role, the highlight strength of every limited stun agent and combines them all into one. She literally power creeps Jufufu, the stun agent that released like in July. 5 months later, she does everything that Jufufu does, but 3 times better, and then also has the buffs from all the other units. Jufufu gives you 1/3 of your ultimate bar. Dialin just lets you cast it. And then she has more buffs than Jufufu too. I think I've already described to you the fact that this unit is fucking overpowered. And so this is why I'm just consistently saying, yo, if these are her numbers, then nobody just wants to even pull anything in this game anymore. Even if they're using the allure of the most ridiculous power creep that the game has ever had. But assuming that this isn't the case, I don't think that you can read that much into what ZZZ has going on right now, because, well, guess what their most recent banner was, guys? Well, let's just take a look at ZZZ 2.3, guys. Assuming that Dialin's numbers aren't in there, guys, well, guess what? You had fucking... we just came off of Yixuan, Ganyu Yixuan, Calamari Yixuan, and the Monado. Calamari Yixuan was the last banner, and I've never seen a group of individuals care so little about a fucking unit before. Oh, what is this, Sarah? Oh, CN hates this game, bro. Wait, is that... That's CN... Dude, CN hates this game, if true. Anyways, this unit... Calamari Yixuan might be one of the most hated ones I've ever seen. And the only way I need to show you this is you look at the Twitch numbers. You'll notice a certain spike in viewership, right? Every single time a new character is released. This is like a new version over here, right? That 9K. Then this is the second half character, right? That 4K. Then new version. Then second half character, right? Then new version. This was the second half character. You see right there? That non-existent little spike up compared to all the other spikes on the graph, this one right here, that was fucking Yadari. That was Yadari's appeal. She brought up the average viewership from 600 to 1200 when new patches are doing like 6 to 7K. Nobody gave a flying fuck about this unit. And so... I'm simply just imagining a universe where this is just like Yadari's banner. And if that is the case, I am not surprised at all. Because all the evidence that I've seen is that nobody even... half the people playing this game don't even know that this unit exists. Because she's just so forgettable, so generic, and just so uninspiring as a character. That is something that's going on right now. And seeing the awful fucking reception that she has, it doesn't even seem like there was a second half character. This makes a ton more sense. However, there is another thing that we just got to think about with this game as well, moving forward into the future. There's something going on with its development. Because one thing that we all know for certain is that Zenless Zone Zero 2.4 has had some big hitches in its development. And the most recent one that they've had is something that really, I think, spells a lot of concern for the future of the game. And that is going to be this announcement that they made. I think that the timing of this announcement is really suspicious as well. They made this announcement literally days before the version began, announcing to players that significant parts of the voice acting for some of the most important units in the story is going to be missing. So they only decided to share this several days before the update, and this was in 3 languages that they're missing the voices in. You want to know what this shows? The developers or the writers are literally last minute rewriting the story, last minute, down to the wire, not able to schedule things. They are mismanaging the project, the timelines, the schedule to such a high degree that it's resulting in last-minute rewrites, last-minute recordings. Certain regions aren't able to get covered adequately because everything's going down to the wire. And guess what, guys? 2.4 is just like one of those regular mid-patch updates. It's not like 2.4 is like some groundbreaking new region, groundbreaking like new features. You want to know something crazy about ZZZ? From 2.0 to 2.4, 5 patches, you haven't left Honkai Summit. Like, you haven't left this fucking fail you and me heights. It's just been one area, the Lemnian Hollow. It's just been that for like 300 days. And, like, they still can't, like, they're adding no new assets. You've been in the Lemnian Hollow and Phalium Heights for 200, 300 days, and they're still finding ways to fuck up their scheduling. They're still finding ways to fuck up the development timeline. You aren't even doing anything. Where's the new area? How has it been 5 versions and there's no new explorative area added? How has it been 5 versions and there's no new hub? How has it been 5 versions and it's just the same exact area that was introduced in 2.0? Nothing has been added to the game aside from like story areas. How? That's where you go in the story. And then the story is still getting delays when you have like no fucking assets getting developed for it? Huh? That to me is what's concerning. And you remember what I said about you being in Phalium Heights for the past 5 versions? I think this is really just the take. I think that ZZZ didn't live up to the standards that Hoyo had expected for it, and it literally got its budget cut. That has to be why you've been just in the same area in the story for the past 300 days. How have you not gone anywhere? Think about where you went in version 1.x of the game. You went to the Outer Rings. You went to the Ballet Twins. You went to the whole like Section 6 journey, all of that. You went to all of these different areas in 1.x of the game. And then when 2.x starts for 5 versions, you're just stuck in 1/4 of the world. And the entire story happens in 1/4 of the world for 5 fucking versions in a row. Brother, what? I genuinely think the game got its budget cut. This is an example of, even with the budget cuts in place, they're fucking up even more. And that's why I'm saying the future for this game, you have to look at all of the signs. What's going on in the game? What's going on outside of the game? What's going on in development? And everything is going bad. Literally everything is going bad. I think we're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe Dialin's numbers are included in here, and Yadari was actually, like, literally, like, negative revenue. That's a possibility as well. There's a chance that Yadari... Oh, sorry, this was April's. Yeah, there's a chance that Yadari over here, she made, like, $1 million, and then Dialin is the rest of it. Lowest JP sales as well? Oh. No, maybe it does include Dialin. So remember how I said JP... Remember how I said JP cares a lot more about waifu? Not so much about meta? I think Dialin's going to do real good in the West. Yeah, it looks like nobody fucking likes her in the East. Yeah, maybe she looks too much like I said before, Cruella de Vil, 101 Dalmatians. The future, let's just say this. Remember how I said the Honkai Star Rail developers, they seem to have been doing everything possible to keep up the revenue numbers? they played every single card. I feel like ZZZ has overplayed the power creep card. And now the player base is starting to get really tired of it. And what better way to overplay the power creep card when you released Hoshimi Miyabi 6 months into the fucking game. And the game is still recovering meta-wise from her release. The game still hasn't recovered meta and endgame balance-wise. There are still, like, rippling issues from the release of Hoshimi Miyabi 6 months into the fucking game. And I guess just, at this point, the entire world is tired of it. Breaking! ZZZ update cycle just got released. Pretend to be dev listened. Another relaunch with the Void Hunter banner. Cash out. Oh, no. I mean, he's not necessarily wrong. He's not necessarily wrong. Like, this is what they do. Because 2.0... Guys, I'm gonna be honest. Guys, anyone remember that dev talk from 2.0? Y'all remember this shit? Y'all remember this shit and how bad they baited us? They was like talking all this good shit, like how this fucker Y over here was talking all this good shit 7 months ago. Oh, he's saving the game. Oh, 2.0 gonna be the best thing ever. Here's my asthma, motherfucker. Like, bro, like, I legitimately think this guy was up here and he was just lying the whole time. Like, he's just straight up 14 minutes, bro. Not a single truth comes out of this motherfucker's lips. I swear to God Almighty. Like, I believed it. Everybody fucking believed it. Everyone thought 2.0 was gonna be hot fucking shit. Like good shit, but it's bad shit. What a fucking disaster of a version update. And the only thing I need to show you is that the game had better viewership before 2.0. 2.0 was so bad, it literally butchered the viewership of the game, which was higher before it. Guys, I don't know what else to fucking say. The game had better views before 2.0. What other way is there to say that they fucking fucked the game? That Failure Heights, Yunkai Summit, their version of China is awful. In fact, 2.0 for ZZZ is so bad, I'm surprised the CCP hasn't stepped in. I'm genuinely surprised the fucking CCP has not stepped in to tell Hoyoverse, you're making China look real fucking bad with this storyline. Can you, like, get your fucking shit together? Dewey? Can you get your shit together? Why? This shit's embarrassing. Legitimately. This shit is embarrassing. And the fact that there are still people getting hyped up again for 2.5, where the ZZZ devs can instead say, hey guys, here are the numerous updates that we're going to be making in the game. It's not like we do this every 6 months or anything. But they fucking do. Every 6 months, you're like, we're changing everything. The game's gonna be so much better now, guys. I assure you. And then they don't. They make it worse. Because I don't know how this happens unless the game is literally getting worse. How do you drop? How do you drop viewers like this at such a high pace unless the game is literally worse? It has to be a fact at this point. It's gotta be a fucking fact at this point. And it's not safe to play their online events now? Yeah, I heard ZZZ is getting, like, people are getting fucking doxxed because of ZZZ. And we might make a video on that one later. Anyways, all I'm gonna say is, out of all the games, the big four, we might have to call it the big three now. We might just have to call it the big three now, because I think ZZZ no longer is deserving of any of those titles. I think the big four at this point, hey, maybe we gotta do some differentiations over here. Maybe we gotta take ZZZ out. Maybe we add in CZN. Hey, maybe that's what we gotta do. Maybe we gotta add in CZN. Uma's in the big four. Uma's not a video game. Get the fuck out of here. You don't play Uma Musume. You watch it, okay? It's a fucking. He told the truth, but they did not want to hear it. CZN dev said they made 28 mil last month. Well, now you know that CZN's was maybe, 60% PC, which you're happy to hear. Hey, if CZN made 28 million last month and the devs confirmed it, hey, it must mean that a good percentage of CZN's revenue is PC and console. But I don't think they have consoles. I think it's just PC, which is good, guys. Or they show that 80% of their 28 mil is mobile. Okay, so you're saying that this is just off by like 18 million. Okay, all right. Then I guess people are underestimating CZN, or maybe everything's getting underestimated. And so, as the final thing that I'll say, once again, because we always got to do this just to be, you know, equilateral about how we're treating games, ZZZ could also just have the whole PC thing going on as well, right? We all know ZZZ is a very dog shit game on the phone, but I don't think that reasoning is going to hold up particularly too well, because all the signs that you're seeing across every single platform, every single store, people are just disengaged as hell with this game. But maybe there's a very dedicated player base who just never talks about the game, doesn't consume any media about it, doesn't like show up anywhere to, you know, support the game on like stream or anything like that. Maybe it has a massive player base of just like gooners that like never interact with anything ever. But when you see the amount of clear attempted listening or baits for listening that the ZZZ devs are doing, where they're constantly putting out these massive reports, these massive update sheets about how they're going to fix the game over and over again, that leads me to believe that maybe things aren't going that well. Last thing I'll say when it comes to this chart is that HSR, right, overplayed the spending events. I think ZZZ's overplayed the devs listen bait. Because when you keep putting out all those posts claiming that you're going to listen and fix the game and then you don't, people just think you're lying the next time you say it. And the amount of skepticism that people have for ZZZ's current relaunch is much higher than it was for 2.0's, because you have overplayed this card like you always do for some reason. Hoyverse. That's going to be our entire breakdown of what's going on in the gacha space at the moment. Like I said before, you got to take everything that you're seeing over here with a big old grain of salt, especially when you know the parties involved. But I like using these reports as more of an opportunity to discuss what's been going on in the space over the past month. And as you can see, I think it's pretty fair to say nothing in gacha is looking particularly good right now. HSR's spending event is looking like shit, especially compared to the past ones that they did. Genshin's UGC is a fucking mess. Wuthering Waves, Chisa's a mess. Meta-wise on release, and you like don't even know she's gonna get good characters to work with in 3.0. I'm still desperately waiting for the fucking kit details to see if Chisa's even gonna be usable. Oh god. And then you got ZZZ with whatever the fuck is going on. They got no voiceovers, they got no good banners, they got no good character designs. But they do have Yi Shungite, and maybe she will save the game. We'll see. That'll be our coverage for this one. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.